Oh my goodness, you can't tell me 2023 wasn't the best years of all time when it comes to combat sports. Now we're talking about with boxing both and in MMA. Talk about the fact that you had Ryan Garcia taking on Tank Davis, and a couple of years ago that seemed very unlikely to happen, and then it finally did. And then you had the likes of, let's say, Terrence Crawford finally fighting Spence 5 years later, but nonetheless it was still done, and it happened to have landed right here on 2023. The best year of combat sports. Of course, a couple of things got away. For example, John Jones and Francis Ngannou got away from us because of the contract negotiations that had to happen with Francis and his disagreements with the UFC while he was champion. He then moves on with his career. Now he's taken on Tyson Fury in Saudi Arabia by the Skills Challenge promotion granted and provided by the Saudi royal government. And now he's going to get paid in ways that he never got paid in the mixed martial arts game. In the UFC, they weren't willing to pay him the way that he's going to get paid with Tyson Fury. So that fight never unfolded. And then John Jones, he became the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world, winning his second world championship in his second weight class. And now taking on one of the best heavyweights of all time, none other than Stipe Miocic, in which is going to solidify him as a heavyweight and as an undisputed champion in the division without having to fight Francis. But nonetheless, it's a fight that got away in 2023. Also, Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler. We saw them at the Ultimate Fighter. Very amazing in the way that it was produced, right? Because, let's just face it, not really amazing in the way that it was produced. They were doing the same thing that they were doing from 2005, and then right on the same time right now. It's really no different. There was no changes. There was no evolution. It was the same formula. Sure, they used 4K camera in ways that they never used in the mid-2000s, but nonetheless, it was still a lackluster show, but it made up with the drama of Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler clashing with each other. Not only did it make up for that, McGregor had this losing streak going on as a coach, and a lot of people were questioning about his, I guess, ability to coach. But then how can you really judge something to that effect when you're dealing with a situation where you're fighting guys within 1 week and you're not really training them for a training camp? You've never been in a gym with these guys for no more than a couple of days. So how much can you really stem off from that, and how much can you really teach or evolve a fighter from that situation? And not to mention, the theme of the entire season was based on veterans versus upcoming prospects. And a lot of these veterans were already UFC vets that have had some lackluster UFC fights, or maybe they just constantly went to a decision, or maybe they got finished a few times by top level guys. So then they had to go to another regional circuit somewhere around the world and prove themselves. And now here they are back in the show. But nonetheless, McGregor picked all the prospects that did not have the experience that a lot of these UFC guys had. And those are one of the things that you can truly judge off of that. So that's what you got going on with 2023. You had a couple of big matchups that we missed out on. Obviously, Alexander Usyk versus Tyson Fury was one of the things that we missed out on. But nonetheless, guess what? In replacement of that, in the same year, you're getting Francis Ngannou taking on Tyson Fury. You may not like that as a boxing pugilist or as a boxing purist, but for a lot of the MMA guys, there's going to be interest in that. And of course, the boxing world is going to show some sort of interest in that as well, to see how Tyson Fury fares with Francis Ngannou. Or do they think they know, or do we not know, based on the fact that Francis Ngannou has this one-shot knockout power that we've seen Tyson Fury get laid out from in previous fights, but has come back from, which makes this fight all that interesting. But his inexperience of the entire sport of boxing will come into play at some point, but do we really know? And that in of itself makes the fight intriguing. On October 14th, a week before that, or a week, right around there, October 14th, you have Dylan Dennis taking on Logan Paul. And then that's just the co-headline. How about the main headline of that, which is KSI taking on Tommy Fury? And you've seen the press conference and the crazy shenanigans that went on about that. Those are some of the things that we got to look forward to. And now, in October of 28th, 2023, you have UFC 283, I believe it is, or 284, but nonetheless, it's the card that's going to be in Abu Dhabi. And what is significant about that? Well, actually, 283 is Sydney with Strickland and Adesanya. And how about Strickland? He started off the year, this year started off with Imavov. Nazardine Imavov, he started off with him. Now he's getting a title shot. And obviously you've seen that he has that win over Abus Magomedov. And here he is now getting a title shot with Israel Adesanya. How about a fight that got away? We're talking about fights that got away, right? The fact that Israel Adesanya was not able to fight Dricus du Plessis in September, which is something that he had planned for after Dricus du Plessis got that knockout against Robert Whittaker. And why is he not getting that matchup? Well, because of the fact that Dricus du Plessis feels that it is a fast turnaround. And not only is it a fast turnaround, it gives the advantage to Adesanya, and it's in his home turf, which is in the region of Australia, New Zealand, because the fight is taking place in Sydney, Australia at UFC 293, which is going to be not too far from now, somewhere around maybe September 9th, or something to that effect, right? And right now we are in August of 24th of August, and then we're talking about September 9th, which is a couple of weeks away. So Strickland got the title shot. He's been active the entire year, so he got this fight. But amongst the other list of the fights that we mentioned that got away, Israel Adesanya and Dricus du Plessis is a big part of that. By the way, guys, check out my early predictions on the video section below with Israel Adesanya taking on Dricus du Plessis. I shot that in Southern California sometime during the summer, and I also did a post-fight review of UFC 290, which took place in Las Vegas with Volkanovski in his latest fight, and with the win of Dricus du Plessis and the face-off. And not only that, the racial implications that go into that fight. Now, you imagine the type of big money that UFC was going to make out of that. But it's not going to happen. Just like Francis Ngannou and John Jones is not going to happen. But in replacement of that, you have Tyson Fury taking on Francis Ngannou in a freak show fight of a boxing match. Nonetheless, Francis Ngannou stepping into the world of Tyson Fury. So how about the rest of the 2023, right? Looking back, because we still have more fights going on. Take a look at all the championship fights that have gone on in 2023 and the ones that are coming up. Obviously, you have John Jones with Stipe Miocic. The one that I mentioned in Abu Dhabi, you have Islam Makhachev taking on Charles Oliveira. And in that same card, you're going to have Khamzat Chimaev. You're going to have Mohamed Makayev on top of that. And then you have all these Dagestani all-stars that are going to be in that card. And obviously it's in Abu Dhabi, so why would you not have them there? And then you're going to have Alexa Grasso taking on Valentina Shevchenko in a rematch. Obviously, you've seen the upset that she had against her, one of the biggest upsets of combat sports history, which happened not too long ago. And that's going to happen upcoming this year. Israel Adesanya, Strickland, I had mentioned. Obviously, coming up just recently, you had Sean O'Malley with his big upset with Aljamain Sterling, which creates a big superstar out of him and creates more dollars for the UFC. Zhang Wei Li and Amanda Lemos, you've seen how that went to a decision. Now, as Zhang Wei Li has that championship experience under her belt. Yair Rodriguez and Alexander Volkanovski, I just mentioned at UFC 290. Alex Pantoja, how about the fact that he was able to beat Brandon Moreno, and with the great storyline that he has going on with his father abandoning his family and then mentioning it post-fight, just giving him a bigger boost into his profile. And then you had Aljamain Sterling early in the year defending his belt against Henry Cejudo, and this is all in 2023. And then you had Israel Adesanya once again beating Alex Pereira, fighting in front of Donald Trump in UFC 287. And then Alex Grasso, I just mentioned with the submission when she had over Valentina, that took place this year, which was in UFC 285. And then you had Islam Makhachev taking on Alexander Volkanovski, all in the same year, by the way. And you've seen that fight, how exciting that was, how controversial that was. Even though a lot of people really had Islam winning that fight, there were still some people saying that Volk had the moral victory of that fight, or even won the whole entire thing. And then you had earlier the year, you had Jamal Hill, who later vacated his belt based on the fact that he was injured and wanted to do the right thing. And this is the same way that he got rewarded with that belt. How? He stepped up to the plate because Yuri and Jan Blachowicz weren't able to fight. And then when Jan Blachowicz fought Ankalaev, they went to a draw. So all these other factors going on, and then Yuri's injured. So now they're putting that fight or that championship belt on vacancy for the next two upcoming contenders to fight for. And he beat Glover Teixeira by a 5-round decision in that one. And then Brandon Moreno, who lost his title this year, as I just mentioned earlier. He beat Davison Figueiredo earlier in the year. Very early in the year to start off the year, only for him to lose it. Just like Aljamain Sterling, he went and defended the belt and lost it on the same year. All these champions of this year are really putting it on. And then you had John Jones with Stipe Miocic now fighting in November of UFC 295 in none other than where? Madison Square Garden in New York City. And then he comes back and fights after beating Cyril Gane to claim the undisputed vacant championship, all in the same year, while Francis Ngannou is boxing Tyson Fury, all in the same year. Who can deny that 2023 is the greatest year of combat sports ever? Right? And then there's more to come on top of that. Not to mention all the fight nights that you had going on in this particular event, right? And in the scheduled fight nights that you have going on. Take a look at this. Coming up this weekend, Holloway versus Korean Zombie. Holloway is going to break another striking record at that and just create even more damage for Korean Zombie's career and affect his longevity in the long run. And how about this? Gane coming back in September to headline a Paris card after he lost to John Jones, all in the same year, coming back to do it. And then obviously Adesanya and Strickland, I had mentioned following that. Then you got Grasso and Shevchenko fighting in a freaking fight night. But it's for the title, and it's a fight night, and it's free. But it's going to be held in September of the 16th, 2023 in the T-Mobile Arena. And it's going to be live free on ESPN Network and probably TNT and BT Sports in the UK. And then you got Fiziev coming back after his fight with Justin Gaethje, taking on Gamrot. And UFC Fight Night 2026 in October still haven't yet been mentioned. And then you have Blades taking on Jailton Almeida. How about Jailton Almeida, right? We have a heavyweight champion right now who is the best light heavyweight of all time, transition up to heavyweight. And not only did he transition up to heavyweight, he did it in a slow, methodical manner where he wanted to get all the reps in with the heavy lifting and be able to build his body up. And then here you have Jailton Almeida, who's a natural 205er, just saying, you know what, I can out-grapple these heavyweights. I'm just going to do it that way. And here he is. Now he's taking on Curtis Blades, moving up the ranks. And obviously, after the Jones-Miocic fight, only time will tell how this heavyweight division is going to play out. But Jailton Almeida is definitely a guy to look out for. Or Blades may just probably out-grapple him or out-grind him and out-wrestle him all throughout 5 rounds and win by decision. But you never know. However, it is highly likely that Jailton Almeida is the heavy favorite at that, and he's the prospect that's coming up, and he just has the right style of fight at heavyweight right now that can be a real problem to a lot of these heavyweights. So that's what you have to look forward to in 2023 right now, so far. It's been the best year so far, and then there's more to come with all those matchups that I had just mentioned. Write on the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe and tell me what are some of your favorite fight nights, pay-per-views, both in boxing and MMA of 2023. Signing out.